So, good afternoon, chaps.
Good afternoon.
It's a very serious discussion we're going to have now because obviously we've had the issue infecting our party, which our comrade Tom Watson has been bravely leading the charge on. Labour is an internationalist party, and we do have to consider the international issues as well as the national ones, but sometimes they get us into hot water, like the whole Israel and Palestine thing.
Right.
It goes without saying that we're completely opposed to anti-Semitism, and that it should be rooted out of the party.
Yeah, I feel we shouldn't be steering away from the hard stuff.
Absolutely. We cannot silence ourselves.
And so that's exactly what we're going to be doing, in line with the guidelines and rules issued by the Labour Party as of late.
So I've decided to come to a compromise point, and we're going to have a discussion about the whole Israel and Palestine thing, and I have a sympathetic person in Mr. Watson's office who will help us edit it without, giving our names to the man himself.
Right.
And allow us to put on this show. So, let's get started. I mean, the whole roots of the Israel and Palestine issue obviously go back to 1948 when the State of Israel was founded.
Yeah.
And obviously, some time before that. As we know,
I've heard that Tel Aviv has a wonderful nightlife.
I think we can conclude, as I'm sure Mr. Tom Watson would as well, that's all the Palestinians' fault.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
Truly. How dare they throw stones at my...
So yeah, welcome everyone. We'll start off with our usual fake news quiz. A list of all the news that's been going off in the world, except for one story. One story of these is fake. But which one is it?
I love this bit.
Question.
It's so difficult because the world is so fucked up right now. It's difficult to tell what's straight and what's not, you know what I mean?
Andy, you'll go first. So, a woman has just received her PhD at a Milwaukee University. She is now known as Dr. Marijuana Pepsi Van Dyke.
Dr. Marijuana Pepsi Van Dyke.
That must be true, because
True.
it's America.
Yeah, it's true.
Dave. A woman criticised for taking her pet to a rave said, "My camel loves drum and bass music."
My camel?
My camel.
That's got me.
Is there a word missing in that sentence? That's got to be true.
Why do you think that's true so much?
Because it's mad.
Andy.
Okay.
The Republican governor of Florida attended a meeting at NASA about protecting Earth from asteroids. His only contribution was to suggest that the military could learn from events that had happened in the recent past, and proceeded to talk about the plot of the film Armageddon. He called it a documentary.
No, come on. These are elected officials. People have voted for them. They can't be as stupid as that. That's got to be the fake one. Come on, please. Don't tell me that's true. It wasn't even a good sci-fi film, was it?
Dave. A local borough council have agreed plans to generate energy by setting underground coal seams on fire using experimental techniques.
What the fuck? No, that's false. That's false.
You see, the problem with this quiz is that after you tell us everything, I think none of these are true. Not one of them. He's made them all up. They're all mental.
Yeah.
You look so despondent. You're like...
I am despondent. If any of them are true, it's heartbreaking.
You think number 3 is false, and you think number 4 is false.
So I think the governor of Florida did not say that Armageddon was a documentary.
I think we all know what the governors are like, right? They're all strange people that have had sex with a sister. So, Andy, you're wrong. Go on. Do it, Mike.
Andy, your story was the fake one.
Hooray! I was going to say, I had me doubting myself because elected officials have said more stupid things. Who was that? One goddamn Tory said The problem with wind turbines is we'll run out of wind. People don't think about that. That's an actual quote.
So, America is safe from, well, that particular idiot I made up. It's very little consolation, though.
No.
This was from an NPR article. Marijuana Pepsi's mother told her that her birth name would take her places. She wasn't wrong. After a life spent being mocked for having an unusual name, the 46-year-old seized on her experience to earn a PhD in higher education leadership. Her dissertation focused on unusual names, naturally.
Brilliant.
And as of last week, Marijuana Pepsi is now Dr. Marijuana Pepsi Van Dyke. For her dissertation, titled Black Names in White Classrooms, Teacher Behaviours and Student Perceptions, Van Dyke interviewed students and concluded that participants with distinctly black names were subject to disrespect, stereotypes, and low academic and behavioural expectations. This resulted in strained relationships, changes in future career choices, and self-esteem issues, spelling fewer educational and economic opportunities for students of colour. In school, Van Dyke says her name elicited the strongest reactions from white teachers.
Ah, that's what Katie Hopkins said, though, innit? You know, when she was on Ollie Willoughby's show, and she was like, "Oh, I hate it when people are call their children
Chocolate starfish.
No, when they're named after where they were conceived, like Brooklyn. It's so common." Ollie Willoughby said to her, "Your child's called India." He said, "Yes, I know, but that's different."
A lot of other people were thinking my mum was smoking marijuana and drinking Pepsi, she tells NPR. In the black community, we're used to having names that are more cultural. She says that one of her research participants at Cardinal Stritch University in Milwaukee had a theory. White people like things standardised, and that includes names. The inspiration for her research came during her early years of teaching, after witnessing a particularly strong reaction to what another educator perceived as non-white names. I had a teacher at a new student orientation who threw a class list on the floor and started talking about how her test scores were going to be in the toilet, Van Dyke recalls. Looking at her own list, Van Dyke was confused as to how she would draw that conclusion. All it had were the students' first names, last names, and their gender. I thought I was missing paperwork, she says. But the other teachers told me that it was the names that she was concerned about.
Yeah. You know, like Shaniqua Johnson. That comes with prejudice, doesn't it?
Mm.
What a brilliant subject for a PhD.
Mm.
For her part, Van Dyke has come to perceive her name as a source of pride, not just an obstacle to overcome, and she wouldn't think to change her name. We can't always go through life-changing things to make other people happy, and I had to learn that early on.
Good on her. I like that after all. It's brilliant.
Article 2, quite a bit closer to home. My camel loves drum and bass. This is not... A woman who received abuse for taking her camel to a rave said the animal enjoys dance music. The camel, used in the film Aladdin, was spotted walking through the crowds at the Land Beyond Festival in East Brighton Park. Animal activists criticised owner Rebecca Fawcett and her 20-year-old daughter from AJ Camels, a company providing camels for entertainment. The two have also faced damning messages on social media, and Mrs. Fawcett is thinking of taking legal action. She says some of the people who complain just have no clue about animals. You do realise camels love drum and bass? They like other music too. Have you ever seen camels listen to jazz? They absolutely love it. They react just like humans do. Social media has completely coarsened public life. I was completely shocked at the aggression towards my daughter, and we are thinking of taking legal action. And I don't know if people were particularly aggressive at the festival because they were off their faces, but it was ridiculous. At no point was he under any stress. He was quite happy sitting and enjoying the music.
Brilliant. She called people who complained morons.
Completely inexperienced. Dave, I'm afraid there is a borough council out there which is preparing to set fire to...
And that borough council is?
North Warwickshire, so it's even in the name.
Fucking hell.
An experimental process where coal seams are set on fire to generate energy could be given the go-ahead in Warwickshire. The scheme would see gas captured as coal seams burned, which would then be used to generate energy. But as the consultation came to an end, councillors in North Warwickshire said lessons should be learned from the Dormill Colliery fire. The pit, the last closed in the Midlands, was shut down in 2013 following a massive blaze underground. A number of councillors spoke against such a scheme in an area that was left reeling from a fire, which Labour councillors said this is a very unproved method, and I believe there are very real safety concerns which should be considered. At the week's Planning and Development Board meeting of North Warwickshire Borough Council, Officer Mike Dittman explained the process. He told councillors they deliberately set fire to the coal seams underground, which generates gas, which is used for energy purposes. We do have concerns, albeit that the county have not raised any indication that there are any licences being sought in the borough. But members will be aware that we do have considerable coal reserves in North Warwickshire, which they're going to all ignite underground. That's even a worse idea than fracking in some ways.
It is. Serious.
Theresa May's off. The big news of the week. I don't know. Sorry?
Who?
Theresa May. Theresa May, she's off. She's going.
Who was she again? Right, I'm here today with Dave, Andy and Guy to discuss the sad news that our glorious Prime Minister, our leader and soul of the nation, Theresa May. Yes, not even the Tories believe it anymore, but her political career is finally toast.
Hooray!
It started so sweetly for her, but now it's all ended for her, literally in front of Downing Street, bursting into tears because her career has finally gone kaput.
That was wonderful. That was one of my finest moments of the year. I was at work. I cheered, and everyone in the bar turned round. And, they called me horrible. One man called me horrible.
Horrible.
Yeah, so I told him to fuck off.
Nice.
I had people saying, "You're an empathic person. How come you can't sympathise with her crying on the telly?" You know what I mean? And I'm like, where the hell were her tears for Grenfell or Windrush or any of the disabled people that have died because of her policies? You know, she's got. I've got no sympathy at all with her.
She showed no emotion through her entire reign as PM. The only time she showed emotion was because she'd lost her job, because it finally affected her.
Yeah.
That's the only time she showed emotion. So no, absolutely no sympathy.
And
she's been living in this protected bubble where where nothing on the outside has affected her. That's why she wouldn't compromise over Brexit. That's why she kept saying strong and stable, strong and stable, strong and stable, strong and stable. She's got terrible advice off a few people, and she refuses. It's either a mirror on the inside she can't see out, or she's blindfolded by her own egotistical arrogance. And it's nice when arrogant bullies get their comeuppance.
all the people you mentioned, well, they're not important because they're not Theresa May, and that's what it was always about from the beginning. Because let's go back to the beginning of her career when she was, well, even before the beginning of her career, when she was at university. One of the things that has been reported about her is that she was annoyed when Margaret Thatcher came to power because she wanted to be the first British female Prime Minister.
Wow.
And she lost her opportunity. Into Parliament she went, eventually in 1997, for the safe seat of Maidenhead. And immediately she was part and parcel of William Hague's first nasty right-wing Tory team. She opposed the repeal of Section 28, arguing that, promoting homosexuality in schools would be a disaster to the moral fabric of society.
It annoyed me in the 80s when they brought that in. I was campaigning night and day against it, and it was such a shame when we lost.
Driving around Westminster, you must have encountered her a lot like you did with Boris.
I mean, did have a bit of a light supper with her once, and she did have the leopard print stilettos on with her husband.
Was this in the canteen?
It was in the canteen, yeah. The new one across the road, the glass one, yeah. Interesting. Didn't engage with anybody else. Room was full. She kept herself to herself. Fussy eater. Should have known then where this was going to be. She cut her food up into small bites, into little squares. When you think about it, a little bit of psychopathic tendency there, you thought. Very, very slow eater. And then the next time I met her after the canteen was actually out in the field there with a bit of work. And I bumped into a meeting at the Fawcett Society, of all places. I took a wrong turn and ended up in this meeting with the Fawcett. I don't know if you know what the Fawcett Society is. You don't know.
Tell us.
Well, I like to give you a little bit of homework, so tell the boys and girls to go and look it up. It's on the website what the Fawcett is. But there'll be a lot of women that know what the Fawcett Society is. It's been around years to get women more women MPs into Parliament, and more equality for women. And she was the shadow Home Secretary in those days, and she spoke quite well about how she wanted more equality and more rights for women, and women should be helped more in the home if they're at home. And it's amazing that she seemed to have forgot all this as soon as she was elected. Just went out the window out there, and it's. I think the Fawcett Society the Fawcett Society, for those that go and look at it, you'll realise is not the kind of organisation that will publicly reprimand somebody. But they got close. Shall we say a strong letter? Is that how we phrase things? A strong letter, strongly worded letter.
Expressing their concerns.
Yeah. Of course, which she totally put in the bin.
Yeah. Well, one of her lackeys to do it more likely.
Yeah, one of her lackeys. But it's a strange rise to power for Theresa from the cornfields of her school.
Her giddy youth.
Well, I never understood what you were telling that story. What she was on about? Is her school, was it a farm college or something? They seem to have a lot of cornfields near it, which she ran into, and pretty much the farmer concerned is probably pretty pissed off the amount of damage she seemed to have done to the crops.
What, to those crops in general, or agriculture through a no-deal Brexit?
Well, yeah, that was coming round to that later. So she starts there with destroying the early foray into destroying the agricultural life of the UK, and ends up where it looks like she's handing it over to be destroyed.
But her rise really began when she was the first female chair of the Conservative Party, and that was where she made her famous speech about, what they call us, the nasty party, in an incredibly rare moment of self-reflection and actual understanding of the situation.
I think that was her last moment of self-reflection, to be honest.
I think it might have been the only one in her life.
I don't know, she'll have opportunity for a few more after the 7th.
Yes, when she's got a book to flog, no doubt.
I'm going to hang on so I can host my fellow fascist Trump, and then I'll go.
Yeah.
So I can hold his tiny hands on my time.
Yeah. Oh, when she held his hand in America, I was shamed.
Oh, yeah, it was horrific on it. I don't know which one of them I felt more sorry for, to be honest.
Grim. I wouldn't have been surprised if both of them had gone wipe the slime off the field.
By the time the 2010 came around, she was appointed Home Secretary, as we well know, and one of the longest serving consecutively in history, I believe.
Yeah. Well, what did she do, 5 years?
Oh, no, 6.
6. Which is an achievement in itself. I'll give her a credit for that.
She actually beat another person to the post, and this is a massive what-if scenario. It was Chris Grayling was initially up for Home Secretary.
Oh, failing Grayling.
So I'd have quite liked Chris Grayling as Home Secretary, because if he tried to deport people from Windrush and everything, he'd end up bringing more over. He's that incompetent.
He would end up deporting everybody that had ever been on an EDL march by mistake.
Yeah.
When she first came into her post as Home Secretary, one of the first things she did, she scrapped a proposed go orders scheme to protect women from domestic violence by banning abusers from the victim's home. And then she closed a contact point database of 11 million under 18-year-olds designed to protect children in the wake of the Victoria Climby abuse scandal. So she just trashed all this data, which was meant to protect women and children.
Serious.
Yeah, I mean, the Tory party does just have a bastard factory somewhere that just churns them out. I think it's called Eton.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, it doesn't matter. You get rid of one, another one will pop up.
Then, of course, she cut all those police and was greeted at the Police Federation meeting with lots of booing, and, she was just treated with contempt, really, like she treated them with contempt.
I remember 3 or 4 police federation conferences on the trot, telling her that the cuts would result in them not being able to sustain public safety, and that crime would go up, dangerous crime would go up, and that the buckling system, already under too much pressure, could not cope with more cuts. And she sniggered and laughed.
Same with the fire brigade.
Yeah.
Fire Brigade's union, when they heard she was resigning, they put out a really scathing letter, just detailing everything that she'd done to them.
Yeah.
I can't remember the wording, but yeah, it was pretty damning. They refused to meet her at Grenfell, didn't they, firefighters?
Yeah, they did.
It's kind of ironic that she trashed all this data, to protect people, and then brought in the Snoopers Charter, which requires all service providers to keep records of internet usage, your messages, texts, emails, calls, everything, for up to a year, so that it can be accessed by police.
Right-wing establishments always give us something to be scared of in order to take away more of our rights.
Yeah.
And I say, if you've got evidence that somebody's a criminal, then investigate them. But don't put us all in the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't have those rights against all of us. My rights have been fought for, died for. I'm not giving them up just because you put a made-up enemy in front of me. Terrorists have killed far less people than she personally has with her policies. Tens and tens and tens of thousands less people. And I'm not saying I approve of terrorists, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be scared of them or be aware of them or whatever, or take all precautions we can to keep the population safe from terrorism. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be investigated, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying, don't use that as an excuse to take away my rights. Yes, there's no way at all, from her past record, that she couldn't be anything but racist.
Now, what makes you say that?
For a start, she set up the detention centres. She set up Yarlswood, and there's one beginning with M for men. The detention centres, they're like the worst in prisons.
Yeah.
The Group 4 that are running them have had so many claims about bullying, intimidation, sexual misconduct. They're horrific concentration camps, more or less. The inmates don't do work. These are people who are claiming asylum. They've not done any crime whatsoever. They're held in there indefinitely, and she set that system up. And you can't be in control of that if you're not racist. So I knew she was racist before the Windrush scandal broke, and before she trolled around London with illegal go home.
2016, this thing called Brexit happens. Theresa May had been campaigning for Remain, and suddenly she comes through the other side. She's appointed leader because all her incompetent rivals commit hara-kiri on themselves.
Yeah.
Particularly Andrea Leadsom, who, to be fair to her, I thought that was horrible what she said about May, like, she doesn't understand people because
she hasn't got kids, she can't be a mother. It's like,
yeah.
But
that just shows just sort of the Tory mentality, doesn't it? Nothing is too low for them.
No.
Andrea Leadsom's more right-wing than Theresa May ever will be.
Oh yeah.
So it was a relief to me when Theresa May won out of the last two.
I have just been to Buckingham Palace, where Her Majesty the Queen has asked me to form a new government, and I accepted.
May becomes Prime Minister. And this, to be honest, people always say, she was put in such a hard position by David Cameron leaving. Thing is, David Cameron left at the beginning. Brexit would be entirely of her own making. She could shape the process from start to finish.
Yes.
So what does she do? She makes a good start about, talking about the just about managings, the burning injustice and all that. Then she immediately goes on the attack against Corbyn. So she's got a country divided right down the middle. She sees her polls going up. We're stuck in the chaos of the civil war because of the coup attempt. So she thinks, instead of trying to bring the country together, we won't have a general election, but no, we're going for a general election.
Yeah.
She said half a dozen times there will be no general election.
Yeah.
And then called it because of her own extreme arrogance.
Yeah.
After she had triggered Article 50 without a plan having been developed.
Yeah.
Because first, David Cameron explicitly forbade the civil service from drawing up contingency plans in case they lost the referendum, because he was like, we're not going to lose. Just a waste of time.
Was thinking, why the hell have we got a Remainer in charge?
Yeah.
We've got a mandate to leave.
And this is where she started coming up with the slogans like Brexit means Brexit and red, white and blue, no deal's better than a bad deal.
I have just chaired a meeting of the Cabinet where we agreed that the government should call a general election to be held on the 8th of June. It was with reluctance that I decided the country needs this election, but it is with strong conviction that I say it is necessary to secure the strong and stable leadership the country needs to see us through Brexit and beyond.
Prime Minister called the election because she wanted a mandate. Well, the mandate she's got is lost Conservative seats, lost votes, lost support and lost confidence. I would have thought that's enough to go, actually, and make way for a government that will be truly representative of all of the people of this country.
And it's like she painted herself into a corner because she repeated it robotically that many times. She was fantasising about mop up Labour in the heartlands and get this massive majority. Yeah. So she attacks Corbyn, she attacks Labour, really savage attacks as well, and then all comes crashing down.
She's the ultimate grey man. They talk about John Major. Yeah. Oh, he was the grey man of politics. He had fuck all on Theresa May.
So yes, she comes in, cocks it all up on a horrendous scale. She's talked about a coalition of chaos and Corbyn's in bed with a terrorist. Oh my God, who's going to support my minority government? Yeah. DUP, you'll come and save me.
Yep. And I thought it was ironic that all that strong and stable coalition of chaos in bed with terrorist nonsense, and then she's formed a coalition of chaos with terrorists.
Yeah, Protestant terrorists.
Fundamental nut jobs.
Yeah, creationists.
Yeah.
Anti-gay, homophobic, the fucking works. And yeah, because she needs their votes, she's climbed into bed with them.
Buys their votes.
And not even consistently, though, because they are so dyed in the wool, stuck in their ways. They don't mind bringing the UK crashing down Great Britain if it served Northern Ireland's interests.
I do have a grudging respect for the DUP, just for their sheer bloody mindedness. They know what they want, and I completely disagree with what they want. I think they're monstrous, but they're not going to prevaricate or compromise or anything like that. They're true ideologues. I think Theresa May fully underestimated that when she entered into the supply and confidence arrangement with them.
The thing is, what really I think sealed her doom was that morning conference after the election where she goes in front of the podium in Downing Street, and although it would have been humiliating to say, I'd have had some respect for her if she said, I really screwed this up, I've misjudged the public mood, we all need to come together into a coalition and sort out what's going on.
Yeah.
Instead she said, I have secured the most amount of seats for the Conservative and Unionist Party, and our friends the DUP will support us. Now let's get to work. And she had no public comprehension whatsoever that she had
Yeah.
literally snatched defeat from the jaws of victory in a
Yeah.
totally unprecedented scale
Yeah.
in the modern democratic era.
Yeah.
If she hadn't have called that snap general election and listened to those few advisors against the better judgment of a cabinet, even a cabinet were advising her against it. If she hadn't have called that snap general election, they would have easily had a majority to put through any kind of Brexit the Tories wanted.
Well, that was one of the reasons she called it, because she did want a bigger majority
Yeah.
to get through the Brexit that she wanted. But yeah, as you say,
And again,
even
around-
if she'd just kept the pre-election majority, they'd have got something through.
Yeah.
Might not have been one that every one of them was happy with, but they'd have still got it through.
I don't know whether to say tragedy or crime, really, in that through her absolute rigidness, I'm going to get the 52% of the vote by, appealing to their worst instincts, their xenophobia, sort of small-mindedness, their idea that, Brexit means Brexit, and just trying to get all these little sound bites in, that she hardened the terms of the debate, because when Brexit first happened, Nigel Farage was saying, yes, we can still stay in the single market, things like that, and so were Rees-Mogg, and maybe they'd always planned to move to no deal, but she certainly enabled it with her rhetoric. She was feeding meat to the wolves, really. And in the end, when they realised the power they had on her, they could demand more and more and more.
Yeah.
And she hardened the terms of the debate so that this political polarisation now is becoming ever more extreme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Allegedly, she was told after the... Allegedly, according to some press sources and media sources, that she was told after the first draft that she wouldn't get this through Parliament. Mainly because the backstop, which she didn't understand what that was at the time, but also because of her intransigence with the common and single market. The easy way for us to get a trade deal, and in fact for those of us with memories that go back 3 years, I can remember Liam Fox on a late night show explaining to people why Brexit was such a good idea, because don't worry about a trade deal, we can just get a customs union. We can call it what we like, a single. Because all we'll do is transfer all the existing agreements into that to start off with. Because if we make hairdryers, he said, in Wales and sell them into the EU, they've got to be at the EU spec anyway. So in a trade deal, it would have to be at that specification anyway. So don't worry, chaps. I think nobody told him the script that Theresa May had put a red line through that. And in recent modern times, the quickest trade deal kind of done for a major sized economy has been about 11 years. So it's like, it's a long time to not have a deal. So yeah, I can remember Liam, and I think that's why Liam Fox is he started off in this whole process being the ultra nasty right winger. He looks positively left wing in the Tory party at the moment.
Theresa May, what's going to be her legacy aside from absolutely widening the divide left by David Cameron in the day after the referendum, completely failing to achieve any of her aims, failing to even be elected properly?
They always say history is kinder. I mean, you look at Winston Churchill, you'd think Winston Churchill was a saint, not the man who basically couldn't win his own election after World War II, after leading Britain to victory. I mean, Thatcher only had to go and sink a boat just off Argentina to turn the election round. That's how bad Churchill was. But now Churchill's a saint. So they always say, don't they, history paints people better. I mean, if Churchill can become a saint, there should be hope for May. But there isn't, because her defining prime ministership was Brexit. And she failed it. She failed to deliver it. She'd got one thing to do.
And she fucked it up.
What can history say? There will be right-wing historians who want to try and paint a better picture. There'll certainly be Tory historians who will want to paint a better picture. Well, what can they say? Let's give her the best write-up that can be. And that would be, she got a deal from the EU. That wasn't too bad. 90% of it, the majority of the British people could live with. That is the best she could do. She didn't even get it through Parliament, but she got it wrote down.
If she wasn't so militantly rigid, she could have got a lot better deal.
Yeah, it is the red lines. I mean, the art of negotiation is, to go in there tough. That is what they all keep banking and what all this no deal is. There's a lot of people seem to believe that this is all the game. We're going to go in there tough and you're going to move, but
you have a strategy.
You got to have a strategy. But Theresa May's strategy was, we will tell you what we want straight up, and we're not going to move. And she didn't move. And the European Union, which she should have known, couldn't move. She will have a legacy. She will be as a legacy.
No legacy.
She will have a legacy, and the legacy will be a failure. That is the point I was saying about the history. The history always paints these people better than they actually were 50, 60, 100 years later. With Theresa May, they won't.
Farewell, sweet princess of
Cornfield.
Yes, the wheat fields are calling to you. Go back, for that is where you truly belong. Angering farmers, and not by destroying their agriculture with a no-deal Brexit.
Farewell. I haven't got a single positive thing to say about her premiership,
Not one.
Not a single positive thing. I mean, I tried to feel sorry for her when she cried, when she was announcing her. I tried to feel sorry for her.
You're a better man than I.
But where were her tears for the hundreds of thousands of people that have died under her watch,
Grenville, where was her tears then?
Yeah. Where were her tears when she realised that her government had been deporting people illegally? And killing disabled and vulnerable people,
Universal credit.
If there was a terrorist atrocity that killed as many people as Theresa May's government did, it'd be worse than 9/11 ever was.
And not to mention the actual terrorist attacks which occurred on her watch were partly aided and abetted by the fact that she cut funding for police over and over again, as they repeatedly tried to tell her at all those conferences and throughout her term as Home Secretary, where she sat around hiding from the consequences of her actions.
She actually laughed. She laughed in an interview about one of the police conferences. Don't be ridiculous. Cuts in police won't lead to more dangerous streets.
And all the racist Bufton Tuftons in the Tory shires turn around and blame Sadiq Khan.
Yeah.
And it's the vehemence with which they go for him. I mean, I'm no Sadiq Khan fan politically. He's not my cup of tea when it comes to Labour personally. But the amount of abuse he gets when it's, actually it was a rich white woman and her Eton master, David Cameron, who caused all this, their actions have consequences. And the mayor's trying to sort out something which is a national governmental issue.
So I know we've got a more dangerous problem with Boris.
I think they will try and sort of cast retrospectively in the light of, that was when politics were more dignified, politics were more consensual. She had the chance to recess it all, with her just about managing speeches, reaching out to other parties saying, let's do this consensually. But then, sensing electoral red meat, she went on with the no deal is better than a bad deal, and Brexit means Brexit, and red, white and blue Brexit.
Strong and stable nonsense. And
her rigidness just exacerbated those divides, made them worse, and the more she pandered to the right, the more they thought they could take, particularly after she buggered up the election, lost the slim majority they already had, leaving Boris with potentially just a majority of 2.
Dave, can you think of anything positive to say about Theresa May's premiership?
No. In all truth, she has seen the killing of society totally. Yeah. It's that thing of, if something was teetering on the edge, she pushed it off. Yeah. And then, and not just in one case, she went along, she was literally the bull in the china shop. She went in, guns a-blazing, kicking everything, I'll do it my way, sod you. And it's that thing, like you just said, disabled people, Windrush, Grenfell. Somebody will write words about her saying that she was not that bad, and right, and it'll all be lies. It's so obvious. It's that thing of, she was fucking awful.
We see how the bee whitewashed statue when she died.
Exactly.
I think now's a brilliant time to bring up what we should do to Theresa May.
Yes. Damnatio May-moriae. In ancient Roman times, whenever a leading political figure royally fucked things up to such an extent that their existence was considered a blight on the collective community's consciousness and memory, all trace of you would be eradicated from the public memory, the historical record, and you would be never spoken of again. And today, that's what we've elected to do on this podcast with Theresa May, to reflect how brutally, hideously incompetent she was, what a nasty piece of work she was, and how she has absolutely hardened the arteries of political discourse in this country and kept us disunited for potentially a generation or more, and left the keys of Downing Street in the hands of an even more mendacious, corrupt, callous human being in the form of Boris Johnson, our new Prime Minister. I think there was a pretty good ground for erasing her from any mention of her in this podcast ever again.
I think so.
Get her fucking gone.
We won't even call her She Who Shall Not Be Named. We just will not mention her ever again.
Perfect. So bye-bye, May. Go back to your wheat fields and you will not be missed. Ever.
No, good fucking riddance.